Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, I'm going to give my best effort to rank the top 5 Fortnite players in the world as of right now. Now, I want to get a few quick things out of the way before I get into the list because I'm sure this video is going to be a somewhat controversial one. First off, this video is only going to feature PC Fortnite players. I'm a console Fortnite player. I know a lot of you guys love console Fortnite gameplay, but unfortunately, console Fortnite really hasn't had any of their own epic sanctioned competitive events yet, so it'd be kind of difficult to rank the top players. Second, I took a lot of factors into account when I made this list, but the number one thing I focused on is success at the top level of competitive play. So as much as I love to watch guys like Ninja, Nick30, Daquan, and Myth, they put most of their effort into being super entertaining and creating enjoyable content, so obviously they're going to fall behind the top players that do pro scrims for like 10 hours a day. Finally, you need to understand that it's very difficult to rank the top players in a Battle Royale game. There's so many unique situations and so much randomness on a game-to-game basis that you're never going to really get clean 1v1s in the middle of an actual game. As an example, let's say Daquan has 200 health, a gold scar, a blue pump, and a blue drum gun, and he kills Ninja, who has 75 health, a green AR, and a gray tac. Does that instantly make him better? I would say definitely not. And at the end of the day, we all know Fortnite is not just a game of 1v1s, there's so much more to it. So I'm hoping this video generates a lot of positive discussion because I know a lot of you guys have interest in these top players in the world. So just because I or someone else may have a different top 5 or a different number 1 than you, doesn't make either party wrong or right, it's simply a matter of opinion. So now that we got all that out of the way, let's get into the actual list. Alright guys, so we're going to start this list off with number 5, and that is FaZe Cloak. Now, Cloaksy's a really interesting player to start with because if this were just a list based on natural or mechanical talent, he would definitely not be in the top 5. You know, don't get me wrong, he has pro-level gun skill and pro-level building, but especially at the building, he is nowhere near as strong as some of the other top players. The reason why he's on this list and a top 5 player in the world, in my opinion, is because he's an incredibly high IQ player that is the consensus best in-game leader in all of Fortnite. Now that may not sound super important because I know how much the Fortnite community is obsessed with natural talent like gun skill and fast building, but trust me, it is. When you play a hectic high-speed battle royale game with so much going on, especially with building like Fortnite has, to have a high IQ dedicated in-game leader that's going to call the shots for the entire team and make smart split-second decisions, it's a reason why him and Tfue are such a dominant duo together, and it's why I believe that FaZe is easily going to be one of the 2 or 3 best teams in all of Fortnite if we ever do get competitive squads in an epic sanctioned event. Speaking of epic sanctioned events, Cloak's placements in the summer skirmishes thus far haven't been the best on this list by any stretch of the imagination, but they definitely are respectable. He placed 2nd in week 2, 22nd in week 3, didn't play in week 4, placed 5th in week 5, and in week 6, which was a 2-day event which just concluded at the time I'm doing this video, he placed 14th day 1 and 5th place day 2. So overall, not the best placements in the world, especially that 22nd place in week 3 kind of sticks out, but definitely respectable enough to where I have no problem at the end of the day placing him at number 5 on this list. Moving on to number 4, we have Liquid Chap, and you're going to hear the name Liquid a lot throughout this list. Their team is unbelievably stacked to say the least, and I think they have hands down the best team in competitive Fortnite at the moment. Chap has been a very consistent performer in pretty much every single week of Summer Skirmish so far. He placed 8th in week 2, 3rd in week 3, didn't play in week 4, 9th in week 5, and on week 6, which as I said was a 2-day event, 10th place day 1 and 3rd place day 2. So every single performance he has had 5 different ones in Summer Skirmish, he has placed top 10 every single time. And in my opinion, he is at the moment the second best player on Liquid and may soon be the third best player on Liquid, if you get what I'm hinting at here. We'll get to that a little later in the video. But yeah, if you've watched Chap play, you'll know it doesn't matter where he plays in Summer Skirmish or what team he's on. He's a top 5 player in the world. The one thing that stuck out to me about his gameplay more than anything else was his building. I seriously think he's up there for maybe the 2 or 3 best builders in the game. So yeah, Chap, number 4 on my list. Liquid is going to be an absolute problem in competitive Fortnite in the future. And let's move on to number 3. So number 3 is a guy by the name of Not Vivid, and out of everyone on this list, I would say that this is probably the most unknown player on the list, because he only very recently came into the eye of competitive Fortnite with the beginning of the Summer Skirmish events. And that is why I'm so happy I held off on making this video. I planned to make this video back in like May or June when I was just starting my YouTube channel, but I found it almost impossible to rank the 5 best players, because at that point there had never really been any legitimate epic sanctioned competitive events. And back then, Not Vivid wouldn't have been anywhere on my radar because I would have never heard of him at that point. If you're going just based off of Summer Skirmish placements, I mean, Vivid would be the consensus number 1. He placed 7th in week 2, didn't play week 3, 1st in week 4, 1st in week 5, 9th place day 1 of week 6, and 2nd place day 2 of week 6. I think if you add all those numbers up and divide them, it's something ridiculous like his average placement is 3rd place. And a lobby with theoretically 99 other pro players, I cannot even describe how hard it is to consistently finish where he places. Vivid is an insane player overall, one of the absolute smartest players I've ever seen, insane decision making, and he really understands the Season 5 meta as a whole. One of the most comfortable players I've ever seen playing from low ground, incredibly good at abusing some of the spray and pray aspects of Season 5, really great with SMGs overall as a whole. The only reason he isn't higher in my opinion, and I know there are a ton of people out there, really heavy competitive guys, that have Vivid at number 1 and think he's easily the best player in the world, I simply need to see him do it for a little bit longer. Like I said, before Summer Skirmish, which only started in around the beginning of June, nobody had really ever heard of Not Vivid except for the hardcore competitive guys. And I'm sure that for a lot of you guys watching this video, this may be the first time you've ever heard of Not Vivid. So I'm just going to be a tad bit cautious about placing him any higher than 3 at the moment, because we've really only seen him play for about 1 month in one specific meta. And like I said, one of his biggest strengths as a player is how comfortable he is in the Season 5 meta. But based on how insane he is as a player, I'm sure he'll be fine adapting to any of the changes in the game, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised at all if I revisit this list in a month or 2 and he is the consensus best player in Fortnite. And oh yeah, there are a lot of rumors swirling around that he's also going to be joining Team Liquid in the near future. So if you hadn't heard of Vivid before this video, you're probably about to start seeing a lot more of him, whether you follow competitive Fortnite or not. Moving on to number 2, we have Tfue, probably the biggest Fortnite household name on this list, and it's because for about a month or 2 month period between, like, I don't know, maybe May to June or April to June, Tfue was the consensus, or at least the most common, number 1 player in the world, and that was highlighted by his absolute domination of the Friday Fortnite tournament, when at that time that was really the only competitive data we had for Fortnite. Him and Cloak were absolutely dominant together in Friday Fortnite. I believe they won 3 out of the 5 Friday Fortnites they played together, and with how many teams and rounds were in that tournament, to win 60% of the total Friday Fortnites, it was just absolutely insane. But over the past few weeks, Tfue's kinda let me down. He's my favorite streamer, my favorite competitive player. I just absolutely love watching the guy play. But his placements in the Summer Skirmish events, I'm not gonna lie, even as a fan, have been a tad bit disappointing. We're gonna go through them right now. He placed 16th in week 2, 22nd in week 3, 7th in week 4, 5th in week 5, and in week 6 he placed number 2 day 1 and 28th on day 2. So overall, out of all the people on this list, he may honestly have the worst summer skirmish placements. So you're probably wondering why I still have him number 2. I'm a big believer that the numbers may not look great, but Tfue's gotten some really bad luck with some of these placements. Specifically week 2 where he placed 16th. That was the really controversial tournament where it was basically a pub stomping tournament and iDrops Bodies won it. A lot of people thought that he was using keyboard and mouse on console, but Tfue basically had a death in one of the small amount of games that you were allowed to play that was just totally unavoidable, a major glitch in the game really early in the game. So maybe without that 16th place moves up to like a 6th or 7th place, which overall makes his placements look a lot more respectable. But like I mentioned earlier, with the Friday Fortnite domination, with how good he always is at top level pro scrims and top level Discord snipes, and just in general due to the fact that he held the title of number 1 for so long, maybe it's the Tfue fan inside of me, but I just can't place him lower than number 2, even with some of the disappointing summer skirmish results. So finally, moving on to number 1, the guy I personally believe is the best Fortnite player in the world at the moment, Liquid Poach, another member of that absolutely dominant Liquid squad, especially if they pick up Vivid. His summer skirmish placements definitely aren't the best on the list, but they're probably either the 2nd or 3rd best. He placed 15th in week 2, 5th in week 3, 2nd in week 4, 1st in week 5, and in week 6, on the first day he placed 2nd, and on the 2nd day he placed 20th. Now some of these placements are a little bit misleading because he teamed with a bunch of different people throughout these events, but he is just overall the most well-rounded player I've ever seen. I mean, seriously, I legitimately don't believe he has a weakness in his game. He may not be the best player at any one specific skill, gun skill, building, intelligence, but he is just the entire package as a Fortnite player. If you've never heard of the guy, seriously, go in, watch him stream some pro scrims, watch him stream himself going for high kill games, which I'm seeing him do a few times. Just an absolutely ridiculous player, and I personally believe he is the best player on the best team, and therefore has earned the title of number 1 Fortnite player in the world. So yeah, that's my list. Just some honorable mentions of some guys that almost cracked the top 5. 72 Hours, another member of that ridiculous Liquid team. They may legitimately have 4 of the top 6 or 7 players on the planet on one team. Literally the Fortnite equivalent of the Golden State Warriors. Zate or Zati, actually not sure the correct pronunciation at that point. But yeah, another guy that's been a consistently high finisher at all of the summer skirmish events. And finally, Mongrel. I believe he's 14 years old, and he is legitimately one of the most mechanically gifted Fortnite players I've ever seen. It's just a shame that I can't place him higher because since he's so young, he really can't compete in any of the epic sanctioned events. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave me a comment down in the comment section below if you watched the entire thing. What's your top 5 list? Who's your number 1 Fortnite player in the world? Who are some guys you think I rated too high or too low? Leave me a comment down in the comment section below. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.